Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here with Jason Blaha Strength and Fitness, and today I want to chat with you guys and gals a little bit about why powerlifters have to stop being afraid of higher reps. But a quick reminder, if you guys will please click like down below, it'd be greatly appreciated, and drop me a comment. Thank you so much. All right, let's get over into the topic. This is something that I've been saying for quite a few years at this point. For quite a few years, yes, heavy work should be a part of all of our training, all right? Powerlifters obviously need to do work in the 1 to 3 rep range. We absolutely have to. Absolutely critical. We all understand this. We can make the case for even whether you want to do it year round or close to a meet, max effort work starts to become very important. Heavy singles. However, we have oftentimes this phobia of higher reps, and now we're seeing more of it in some of the little bodybuilding circles and stuff, even the machine guys. All right, I want to do over 6 to 8 reps. It's like, oh my God. Whereas you go to Westside, you go to look at any of some of these high level world record level powerlifters over here doing sets of 10 and 12 on their squats. Westside doing tons of high rep stuff, all this bodybuilding type work. Right, conditioning work, everything else. Okay, and this should tell people something. Again, Westside was the strongest gym in the world. They were doing tons of 10 and 20 rep sets on exercises. They were doing tons of sleds and GPP. Okay, get in shape, get fit. But the other thing is even the rep work. You know, and people act like this is some strange idea, but even when you look historically, I mean, if you look at Malinichev, when he set that world record squat out of Russia, he was doing whole phases with like 10 and 12 reps on the back squat. You watched Bill Kazmaier, back in the day with crazy high bench. He was one of the earlier guys to be benching like 600. And of course, he did World's Strongest Man and stuff too. He was very successful at that. But then you're like, man, he's over here doing tons of 10 rep sets on benching. Okay. Right? And people have to understand this idea. You cannot be afraid of these higher reps. They're going to make you stronger. And I think what people forget is that when you are really strong, the weights get heavy real quick. Okay? The weights get heavy real quick. Even for your work sets. And so the idea that you're going to come in and just beat lots of heavy work is not always going to work. It's going to work if you're a more intermediate lifter, a novice lifter. I can have you live on 5s and 6s just fine. Okay? We can live on 5s and 6s. But you can't do that much of it. I mean, a perfect example, like I think right here is something like a 6 rep set with 500 on the deadlift. Keep in mind, I'm almost 50 years old. I can't come in and do this over and over. Now, can we argue I'm going to get an enormous hypertrophic response? Absolutely. You're going to grow from that. But stop and think about the total tonnage there and the workload. I can't just do that over and over. Okay? And ultimately, you're going to need the rep work to grow, because what we have to remember, muscle mass is the biggest driver of your 1 rep max and of your strength. Size equals strength. And anyone who doesn't understand this, that almost needs to be its own topic for people who are not getting it and they're not understanding. Maybe I should do a follow-up video up next on that. Size absolutely equals strength potential. This isn't even a debatable topic, quite frankly, to the contrary. It's not even debatable. But we know that we need to get bigger to get stronger. Okay? You're only going to do so much with technique and neural drive. You're going to have to gain muscle. The problem is it's too hard to gain muscle with tons and tons of heavy work. It beats you up, right? Does the heavy work help? Yeah, you can get big with heavy work. Don't get me wrong. You can absolutely stimulate maximum hypertrophy with lower reps. The problem is that it does start to beat you up. Whereas when we're doing high rep stuff like right here, right? You saw me do that heavier set with 315, but then I'm going to do 225. It's like a 17 rep, 16, 17 rep. I'm not sure which one this is. Something in that range. It's over 15 reps. Okay? This doesn't beat you up at all. Like your shoulders and stuff feel great. They feel fine. Everything feels great. Come in and do your rows, your pull-ups with 10 plus reps. You can do some of your squats with 10 reps. Your back down work, back squats, front squats. Okay, what do we get out of this? Well, it just doesn't tax our structures of our body as much. It tends to be a lot more musculature in nature. Now, the argument people make, yeah, but there's a lot of warm-up reps. You're not growing from the early reps. They're like on a 15 rep set, probably the first 8 or 9 are not even causing any muscle growth. And that's fair. But does that matter as long as we eventually get there? Okay? As long as we get there. Like the only argument people have is that, well, you have a bunch of reps that aren't stimulating growth. Okay, so why is this even a problem? And then of course, powerlifters, we're just doing cardio. Well, maybe your fat butt needs some cardio. Okay? And if you're so out of shape that doing, 12s or 15s on a row is suddenly cardio, we got to talk about your conditioning. You're not healthy. You're not fit. And I think this is what a lot of it comes down to for a lot of powerlifters. Is they all understand ultimately, because they'll do high reps on a tricep extension all day long. How many powerlifters are like, oh yeah, I'll do 20s on a rope press down? No problem. Man, you talk about doing it on a bench press or a closed grip bench or a row. Hell, even a front squat. We're like, yeah, no, I'm not done. I'm out. But they know that the others get them bigger and they know it carries over. They don't want to do it on a big movement. They don't want to do it on a compound. Why? Because they're out of breath, they're out of shape, they can't handle the work capacity. And they know that it works. They know that it's so much easier on their joints and everything to just do a lot of their stuff with higher reps. Okay. The problem, they're out of shape. It's because so many of them fear cardio. They fear conditioning work because it's, again, it hurts gains, or I don't need it. It's good for your health. It's good for your recovery. But also the work capacity end. And I think this is a big problem, a lack of cardio, right? And I'm over here like, dude, we can do 12, 13 reps on weighted pull-ups. Why not? Just get them and just do them. Look at my back. I got pretty dang good back. And this is why. But I digress. It's the lack of conditioning that makes them scared of the higher reps. Because all it's cardio, it shouldn't be. Why don't you get in shape? Get in shape. Do some conditioning work. Get used to the higher reps. And this is not a problem, guys. And we all know it works. We all know it'll help you get bigger while beating you up less. It's the lack of conditioning that creates the fear.